materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Consistent with the policy of our parent corporation, we welcome public comment on the items on the following agenda. After each item is presented and any comments are received from the directors, we will allow members of the public to provide comments. All comments should be limited to 2 minutes and we should only address the item that is under consideration. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on today's agenda. Sure. Hearing none, we can get moved on, and foregoing have been noted for the record. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes of the meeting of September 16th, 2015 and November 9th, 2015.
I move that we approve both.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions and any comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we'll ask Tom D. to present the request for authorization for the corporation to adopt its operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2016 and 2017. Mr. D.
Thank you, Robert. The operating budget for fiscal year 2016-17 proposes a total of $1,140,104 in personal services, that's salaries and fringe benefits for 9 employees, and a total of $237,000 in non-personal services, professional services, insurance, office expenses, etc. The total for all personal and non-personal for the fiscal year 16-17 is $1,377,381. So just, I mean, this is what we do every year. We get an approval of the budget, that's staffing and the non-personal expenses. And then in addition to that is the capital expenses. The corporation's fiscal year 16-17 capital expenses is projected to be $34,205,828. This includes, but not limited to, the remaining cost of construction and design of the Explore and More Museum, extensions and improvements on the Central Wharf, activation of the South and North Odd Block, canal side events, programming, site operation, maintenance, and utility cost. Additionally, ECHDC is funding various projects at the Outer Harbor, including but not limited to operations, maintenance, utility costs, and access and activation, design, and construction. I think an explanation also is pertinent here in that a lot of the money that's in the budget, again, this is a budget that we're approving to move forward. A lot of the money that's in the budget has already been approved by this board in terms of some of the items to be spent. And second to that, if there is an item that has not been approved, that's in this budget, that has not been approved by this board, it would have to be approved. So in approving this $34 million, you're not saying that we will do every single thing that's there. You'll have a chance to look at that when we move forward with the projects. So I think that the budget is being set. I think they're reasonable numbers to move forward. And as we get to the actual individual components, they will be voted on a one-on-one basis. So based on the foregoing, the directors are requested to ratify and approve the corporation's proposed fiscal year 2016-2017 operating budget in the amount of $1,377,381 and the capital expense authorization in the amount of $34,205,828.
Thank you, Tom. Comments from director?
I have a question. In looking over the numbers, I noticed that there's about a 50% increase in insurance on the operating budget and probably a 40% increase on the capital spending budget for the insurance line item. It's the only major variance we have over the previous year. I'm wondering if there's an explanation.
Yeah, a very good question. Thank you. I think the insurance is twofold. One, insurance is going up in general, but more than that, it's the Outer Harbor. So now we're taking on more responsibility for the Outer Harbor and ensuring more property, more insurance on the Outer Harbor is primarily the reason.
And we're expanding our potential liability issues going forward because of the Outer Harbor.
Our footprint is basically increasing. It's really what it comes down to.
Any other questions or comments? Headcount is staying the same. Delighted to see that we have a full contingent of our headcount finally back. But I must comment that the amount of work that is accomplished with your head count is incredible.
Thank you.
Give your team, the entire team, vote of credit. Really, thank you for all the hard work that you do.
Well, it's a fabulous team, I have to admit that.
Yeah, well, it starts at the top too. So any questions or any comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Moved. Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposition? Great, carried, thank you. Let's see, Tom, what is next? The
Public space.
public space. Thank you.
So this is authorization to approve the fiscal year 2016-2017 budget for canal side and authorization to take related action. The contractor is Spectra. What we're looking for in terms of the budget is a not to exceed $2,029,930, which is comprised of three components. Operating, $1,479,930, plus a capital budget, $350,000, plus a contingency budget of $300,000. This contract, well, this is the third year of the contract that we have with Spectra, third and final year of this contract, and this funding is coming to us from the New York Power Authority, so that's good to note as well. A little background, thanks in part to Spectra's efforts, the 2015 summer exceeded all expectations with another 1 million plus visitors making their way down to the waterfront destination for a diverse offering of festivals, activities, children's concerts, events, culture, fitness, and more. Winter 2015-16 also brought striking improvements and great success to the ice at Canal Side. New York State's largest ice rink, new amenities were introduced to the ice this winter, including a heated tent for patrons to lace up their skates and a winter pavilion where visitors can enjoy food, beverage, live music, trivia, knitting classes, and more. Since opening in December 14th, the ice has drawn over it's close to 140,000 skaters, curlers, and people on pond hockey, etc., ice bikes. So 140,000 is pretty significant number. Canal Side has sustained its reputation as the place to go in downtown Buffalo and the centerpiece of its waterfront revitalization. In addition to the site management, Spectra started bringing corporate sponsorships, including Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cricket Wireless, Catholic Health, to generate revenue for the site and help move forward the future sustainability of Canal Side. So if I might make mention about the ultimate goal in terms of what we're doing at Canal Side, is that of sustainability. If you look at the entire pro forma, we're probably hitting somewhere around an expense total of maybe $6 million. And then what we do through sales, through revenues, through sponsorship is offset that with some $4 million, with a goal of $4.5 million worth of revenue. And what we're trying to do is get that number down to $1.5 million a year so that we can have that supported by the CAMs that will be brought to us from the buildings and the construction that will be established over time. So it's a goal, and I'll go over some of the numbers, where we were and where we think we're going. But back to the scope of work, it's operations and maintenance, it's programming and event planning, it's canal and the ice and the rinks. So the contract entered into between ECHDC and Spectra requires ECHDC to fund an operating deficit at Canal Side pursuant to the established budget prepared by Spectra and approved by ECHDC. The proposed fiscal year 16-17 budget set aside is $2,029,930. And this is in line with the efforts to improve our future sustainability. I think that, when I think about this, I always look to our plan. And I have a graph here that I use as my guideline to think where we were and where we're going. If we remember our initial year of business, we were at about $2.5 million. And as we wrap up this year, we'll be about 2.1 or 2.2. And we wrap up, and our projection for next year is about 2.03. So it's a reduction of 12%, a reduction of 7%. And as we move forward, I expect to see a reduction of 7% every year. And that basically gives us a 7-year plan of sustainability. So that when we get down to, and I'm saying sustainability at about $1.5 million a year. And that's what I think when you break apart the revenue side, when you break apart the event side and the programming, we hope that that can be paid for through the revenue and the sponsorship and the sales, and that the operations and maintenance side of the equation might be in the $1.5 million range, which would be offset by the CAMs. So it's an interesting challenge for us, and it's a good challenge for Spectra, but I just love love the thought of us constantly fighting this fight so that we can get this number down. We're not cutting services. We're keeping everything that we want. We're keeping a great place. We have a world-class operation in place. The citizens of Buffalo, Western New York love going to Canal Side. So we're going to keep moving to keep improving the product. But it's our job also to be fiscally prudent, and I think that that task with sustainability is important for us. I'd like to mention, too, the purpose of this contract resulting in contract stations. ECHEC hereby establishes an overall goal of 30% of minority and women-owned business enterprises, and also minority and women workplace participation goal of 30%. So we're happy to report that we're making improvements every year, and the requested action is for the directors to authorize the corporation to approve a budget regarding the operations and maintenance of Canal Side to the amount of not to exceed $2,029,930. And that's broken into three components: the operating, the capital, and the contingency, and to authorize the corporation to take all related action. The recommendation, based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested action.
Thank you. Sam?
A couple of comments, Tom. So we're approving the contract, and we, in the past cycle, the past year of this contract, have had discussions with Spectra about increasing and enhancing the diversity of the product that we offer at Canal Side. And I'm happy to hear in your presentation that we continue to strive towards that 30% MWBE and minority participation. But I was in on a couple of meetings where we emphasized with Spectra that we have to do better in terms of the diversity of the product, meaning concerts, meaning other activities that take place down there. And I just say, as a reminder to all, including staff at Erie Canal Harbor, that while a couple meetings took place, we need to follow up to make sure that we're succeeding on that front.
I totally agree with you, 100%.
I have Mr. Mayor, and then I have David.
All right, thank you. I have a couple of questions also. So, Tom, you mentioned a goal of reducing the budget by 7% every year. How do you plan to accomplish that goal? How will that be possible?
Sure. Increase revenues. So the more sponsorships we get at Canal Side is becoming more popular on a daily basis, and we look forward to sponsors. People now want to come down to the site. I can give you a great example where one of our vendors, 3 years ago, we would pay people to come to the site. We paid this organization $10,000. And that brought 10,000 people to the site. It brought revenue and sales and fun things, but we paid $10,000. And then the following year we said, we can't pay you that. You have to come and we're not going to pay you anything. And then the third year comes and we said, you know what, things have changed dramatically. You should pay us $10,000. So it's really, working. I'm sorry?
Did that happen?
Oh, absolutely. So, it's that sort of thing. And the recognizing, too, that there's, we're getting better, and our inspector is better now, doing outreach to the community to look for sponsors. And so for us to get sponsors to come in, we get a lot of guidance from Bryant Park, and that has some really good opportunities to create revenue and to get sponsors. But it's sponsors, it's sales, and then it's a more efficient operation. We're always looking for ways to increase our operation, so reducing our expenses wherever we can. So it's a complex formula that can be simplified by saying increase the revenue, increase the sponsorship, increase the sales, and reduce the expenses, which we, from a staff standpoint, are just we're on it every day to make sure that where we can save money, we save money, and where we have an opportunity for revenue, we look for it.
So, who is responsible for the sponsorship, marketing, and for increasing sales? Is it Spectra, or is it the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation staff? Who's got the primary responsibility for that?
Well, we would have primary, and they were actually the people out knocking on the doors. And we also get guidance from BRV, who run Bryant Park, that are expert in this So the combination of the three.
But the sales are done by Spectra.
Lauren, I think you probably met Lauren Hall from Spectra.
Yes, I have.
Very, very efficient. She's knocking on the doors and she's getting guidance from BRV, which I think is really helpful. And then on top of that, we have on our staff Kevin Smith and Caitlin Shmura, who are overseeing that as well.
Now, Sam asked a question about minority and women business enterprises and minority and female workforce. Do we have the actual listing of companies that have been hired by Spectra in the MBE, WBE category? And I'd like to see what those companies are, where they're from. Also, the workforce, how large is their workforce now? Is it the same? Has it grown? And what is the diversity of their workforce?
I can get all that for you. I can provide that for you within a day or so. And the only thing I can report out of very positive from what I've been told, because we do ask them on a regular basis, is that from a staffing standpoint, it is about 55% minority and women. It's 55 to 58%, so I think that's pretty good. And we continue to manage that and say to them, we need to do good, and we really need to excel when it comes to meeting this expectation.
Yeah, and I think that number is good. I think for purposes of monitoring staff, though, we should separate minorities and women because it's not the same category. That would give us a more in-depth look at what the staff composition is for those two distinct categories. And for our staff itself, have we increased our staff at all? Are there any new members of the staff here for ECHDC?
Not moving forward.
No, same head count.
Excuse me?
Same head count.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. David?
Well, I think this is kind of part of what the mayor was asking. I just will ask it a different way. We had a 17% decrease in our costs to Erie Canal Harbor Development. What was the increase, or did it just stay the same, the overall expense of maintaining the footprint in terms of operating budget? Tom, you mentioned a $6 million number. Did that go up or down from the previous year? Do you know?
I don't know that.
But in any event, it's still quite a bit higher than what we're funding. It was $6 million total cost. We're only funding $2 million of it.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would, in each year, year over year, even though you've decreased our expenditure, right, we've also increased the activity.
Yes.
I mean, skating was longer, right?
Yep.
And we're now a year-round operation.
Yes, skating didn't exist 2 years ago in our first year of our budget.
Correct. Number two, well, I don't want to, dwell on past challenges, but we did have challenges in year one with an expenditure at the end of the year that came up at the last minute. Clearly, that has now been smoothed out in the reporting, and so there are no surprises. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And this is the end of a 3-year contract, so we will be looking to rebid it for 17, 18, correct? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Julie?
Quick question. You had talked about the sponsorships and how they may be a way to decrease our expenses in the future. Can you just give us a general idea of the kind of sponsorships that are available? Are they by event? Are they by season? Are they by year? And a little bit about what they might cost a company to do.
Yeah, it ranges all over the place. It ranges from a dasher board that might be $5,000 to $10,000 up to the global sponsor, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Then they have a winter and summer, and that might be $250,000, some number like that. So it's a wide range. We built the winter pavilion, and we had cricket as a sponsor, and I can't remember the exact number, but it was tens of thousands of dollars contributed towards the winter pavilion. And so they're a wide range. And we just look for, the model we look for too is something that is discrete. We use a model like where Southwest Airlines did the Southwest restaurant in Bryant Park, and you didn't even know it was Southwest Airlines until you really looked into it. We look for smaller logos on things, so we try to be discrete in terms of how the logos work. We're working with Roswell right now on the Bridge of Hope, not renaming one of the bridges, but we have these 3 great historic bridges, and Roswell will use that bridge as an avenue and a place for some of its patients and customers to use that bridge, as we can call it, a Bridge of Hope, and have some signage on there and allow people to come out and enjoy Canalside in a very positive way, and then Roswell would then be a sponsor. So it's groups like that, and then we have the athletic side of it, where they'll come out and sponsor and dedicate a sum of money, and then that'll pay for all the Zumba, the yoga, and some of the fun activities that are out there. So it's a wide range of opportunities, as low as a few $1,000s up to $250,000 or so. And we look for that to get bigger and better as Canalside is becoming so popular. There's no reason why we can't have more sponsors. I mean, think about the other big one down the road is the grain elevator. We can take that grain elevator lighting and take that to another whole notch. We've talked about that in our planning, and that could be down the road of a multi-million-dollar sponsor. And so that's kind of range that we're at.
So it won't be about Buffalo News. The issue, given the fact that the Buffalo reservation and did. However, an example of that was and put in the light, so, and if you look at the stuff of the sides of the tables, that I had Sam. Sure.
So on these, they are timed pavilion for how many years?
Exact. Year, 2 years. That's a typical. Yes.
Who had recently? One of the vendors that I'll share with you, but who handles that?
It either comes back through our staff, or Caitlin or Kevin, or it comes back through Spectra, and we would welcome listening to any feedback like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love positive, but there also can be negative.
So we
understand that.
We learn from it.
And what is our process of evaluating Spectra? And at the end of the contract period, do we anticipate just extending it, or will we rebid it?
Or we'll have to rebid it.
Okay.
It's a good question. I mean, it will be an evaluation, and I think we'll have 3 good years to determine that. And then going forward, probably have an opportunity to really offer and suggest that other people can help us look at this and to be competitive.
So by law, though, according to the contract, is there a built-in extension period, or does it have to be rebid?
It'll be rebid. We'll put an RFP out and it'll be rebid.
Thank you.
Sam.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to scold you. But I am going to, just for clarification, follow up on the question the mayor asked, because I want to make sure that we're accurate. He asked if we brought on, if we increased our staff at all, and just want to make sure that when Sam was brought on, was that more than a year ago, or was that in the past year?
He was in the last part of his salary, was in the last budget, so it's not part.
Not an additional person.
Not an additional.
Okay. Any other questions to the board? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Carried.
Aye.
Mr. D, MOU for the Outer Harbor.
Thank you. Authorization to enter into a memo of understanding regarding operations and maintenance of property of Buffalo's Outer Harbor, to take related action. the system a term for April 1st through November 1st. This is a not-to-exceed contract of $158,092. That's a base number plus a small amount of contingency, and the funding source is New York Power Authority. You can see basically there's operations and maintenance for staff, some maintenance supplies, management fee, and then basically an allowance. So from a background standpoint, we use I lost my place here. Operations and maintenance with Outer Harbor. They've helped us in the past. You know, New York State. I'm sorry, I lost my place here. 1 second. Yeah, New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Have helped us, and they do a good job out on the Outer Harbor. And this is really an opportunity for some maintenance responsibility. We have a responsibility on the Outer Harbor to keep it clean, to keep the trash picked up, to do some landscaping out there. And what we're looking for is for them to provide over a 7-month term, provide the services for cleaning and routine maintenance at Wilkinson Point. Make sure the restrooms are clean, make sure there's lawn mowing at the green belt at designated public areas of Wilkinson, Bell, Slip, and around the terminal buildings. Keep it clean, keep it so that it looks good, and trash collection and litter pickup in publicly accessible areas and parking lots. They'll maintain the startup equipment that they have. And so it's not a large contract, but it's a lot of responsibility because we're out there with the Outer Harbors. We try to move forward. And what we like about working with this group, obviously, is that they're there and they can help us. And they have the human resources out there. So it's something that we've done in the past. We like the arrangement, and it keeps the Outer Harbor clean and fresh looking. And it's a short-term fix. Obviously, it's only 7 months. So the requested action, the directors are requested to authorize the corporation to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation in an amount not to exceed $158,092 on the terms contained in these materials and take all the related action. The recommendation, based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of these requested actions.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Are they the direct provider of the service, or are they able to subcontract with any entity?
As I understand it, they're the direct provider.
Thank you.
It's all, there's no subcontract opportunity. It's all staff, fire staff.
Thank you.
Sam?
Just very quickly, I want to credit Chris Catanzaro for doing a great job negotiating this arrangement with State Parks and the good work that he's doing out at the Outer Harbor. It's a good deal for us.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Steve, it's for Steve to get through the various state agencies that want to accomplish it. This, we had a contract with a outside provider for Wilkinson Point.
Correct.
That contract has ended, and they will take over the portion of Wilkinson. So we have one contract.
That's correct.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. Mr. D, President.
Thank you. We had a great winter at Canal Side so far. Key highlights, we have a total count of about 77,000 paid visitors. That's a 30% increase from last year, so that's pretty amazing. We were thrilled with last year, and now 77,000 is really great. Social media continues to see constant postings of happy visitors who've taken part in the skating, ice bikes, and curling. Increased winter activities occurring every day in the Winter Pavilion. We're an excellent progression over the course of the winter. Planning spring program right now. Looking forward to a great transition to our next season while promoting Canal Side's 4-season activation. currently focusing on the activities at the ice. So next weekend is going to be our last weekend. So we'll wrap it up, we'll close it down, but we encourage the public to come out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that'll be, maybe we'll have some special arrangements out there for the day and some fun.
When did we
extra
close it
fun
last year?
About the same time.
I would think it was the second week of April. We were cold until April 10th or something like that. It was below freezing still, so the ice would have been really good.
I don't think we went to
Yeah. Close before that.
St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. What we did this year, we opened almost a month earlier.
Oh, that's what it was.
But our target is always around St. Patrick's Day to close it down. You're right. I mean, it was cold, but you have those variables. And I think what I'm seeing too now, I see people are jogging with shorts on, right? So people are cleaning out their garages, they get into golf clubs, so the interest is waning, and our attendance is coming down too.
Okay.
All right. Patio section, pavilion, customers are enjoying that. Shuffleboard tables, big new media attention this week with ice bikes was on the Today Show. Canada National Post writing about Buffalo's waterfront revitalization. Canalside being mentioned in Buffalo's segment on about.com, 26 places to go in 2016. We launched Canalside Connect, a new email database to let the community know about the new and exciting things happening at Canalside. With the information we've collected from our previous Ticketfly events and email signups, the database consists of over 9,700 connections, and that's a lot, getting started like that. So it's really great that the staff was able to get this up and running. Spring and summer planning is underway. Spectra's, they're in the trenches right now, getting this season ready. And we talked about sustainability, and we're working on that. So we'll be back next month to talk more about the programming itself. The design, planning, and construction, we're wrapping up the construction on the permanent extension of the Central Wharf. The beach playground improvements we're on schedule, and it looks absolutely spectacular. It will give us additional waterfront access and wider boardwalk for public enjoyment. The water bike ferry construction is 25% complete. That'll be a big improvement. Children's Museum continuing in the design phase. We're happy about that.
That's moving along.
That's moving along.
Great.
So we're in design development right now. We like what we see. And the RFP for the CM at risk is open to the public, and I think there was a proposal meeting on March 2nd that was well attended, and the responses are due March 31st, and we'll be looking to make an award at the May meeting. So in closing, as per our expectations, it's been a great winter at Canalside. We're excited for the warmer months ahead. This year we have really proved that we are a year-round destination that embrace our winter. So stay tuned for spring activities on Facebook and canalsidebuffalo.com. Thank you very much.
Great. And we're having meetings and discussing with the city the location of the carousel. Correct? Any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.